Okay, baik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning everyone. Alhamdulillah, we can see each other again. Dah rasa macam lama sangat tak jumpa ya, sebab last jumpa hari Rabu lepas kan. Okay, sekejap ya. I think there's something wrong with my pen. Okay, sekejap. Kita hari ni nak discuss dulu apa yang kita dah buat untuk hari Jumaat lepas regarding a topic regarding about health issues related to the digestive system and eating habits. Okay, so saya stop student page dulu. Alright, so this is what we have discussed last week. So yang ada dalam ni, yang sudah ada dalam ni, dalam PDF ni I can see here ada Alif, ada Amirul Hakimi, ada Ahmad Hafiz, Farah Kristina, Humaira, Iman Safia, Muhammad Ashraf, ada Hamim, Nik Natasha, Nur Akmal, Kasrina, Syairah Kristina pun dah ada, Nur Fatimah dah ada, Nisrin, Putri Elisha, Putri Dania, Syakira Alia, Nadra, Sharifah Jasenia dan juga Nurin Kristina. Okay, so we will discuss this first. Make sure that you submitted your attendance attached to this slide. Kalau tak sempat tak apa, nanti saya akan share lagi sekali lah link attendance tu. Okay, so daripada submission kamu untuk setiap slide ni, okay, most of you for example for this particular slide only some of you who haven't responded. Nanti please take a look ya. Macam Hamin, Dahia, Ami Aiman belum submitted lagi. So in terms of the short term and long term effects, most of you are correct. For example, short term effects are acid reflux, nausea and vomiting, while long term effects are dizziness, low blood sugar level and malnutrition lah. So people who have gastric bypass have to adjust their lifestyle accordingly. Dan ini memang last resort lah untuk mereka yang ada body weight issues, yang because of the body weight issues, because of obesity, they are on the verge of having other diseases related to obesity. For example, high blood pressure ke, cardiovascular diseases, stroke, knee joint problem, masalah dekat lutut, masalah dekat several joints lah, because of the increase in weight for especially at the upper body weight. Okay, and then you have also submit your causes of gastritis are also correct. For example, eating at irregular quantities at irregular hours, maknanya makan tak tentu lah, dan excessive intake of alcohol and painkillers are the causes of gastritis. And then I have seen your submission in terms of the comparison between anorexia and bulimia. So perbezaan utama untuk anorexia dengan bulimia ni ialah untuk orang yang anorexic, dia memang tak makan langsung. They will avoid food altogether, while bulimics will eat a lot of food and then after that they will vomit out the food. So ataupun they will take laxative to force the food out because the laxative will cause diarrhea lah. So bila kita jawab soalan differences macam ni, dia kata what is the difference, kita mesti jawab soalan tu dalam satu ayat. In one sentence we talk about both condition ya, anorexia dengan bulimia. Kita tak boleh bagi jawapan berasingan. Okay, contoh ya, kita tak boleh bagi jawapan berasingan yang macam ni. Ini kalau kamu jawab explanation boleh. Kalau dia kata explain anorexia and bulimia, boleh. Tapi antara jawapan yang cantik bila kita tulis differences is like this lah. So you for example here Puteri Dana dia compare in terms of dia punya mechanism. So people with bulimia, mechanism dia apa? Dia eat a lot. Tapi people with anorexia will avoid food altogether. So kena betulkan ya. So the answer is very simple kan, very straightforward. Disebabkan bulimics ni dia ada tendency untuk vomit out. So all the stomach acid will go through the mouth area, causing several damages on their teeth lah. So bukan saja merosakkan esophagus dan laluan sepanjang laluan makanan nak keluar ni kan. So semua laluan ni akan terdedah kepada asid perut, stomach acid yang pH 1, pH 2 kan, sebab dia hydrochloric acid. Furthermore, it will also damages the teeth lah. Okay, and then last kali ialah muscle dysmorphia. So these people subject themselves to extreme weightlifting because they still can dia terbalik dengan anorexic. Anorexic tengok cermin, dia masih lagi rasa diri dia adalah masih lagi gemuk. Tapi kalau muscle dysmorphia, dia tengok cermin banyak kali, dia rasa dia masih lagi kurus dan keep on doing exercises, taking excessive nutrients to increase their body weight. So these are several health issues related to eating habits. Most of the time, in today's generation, among today's generation, these psychological issues are amplified by our exposure to social media kan. Itu belum kira mengenai rupa yang cantik, yang ada filter. Itu belum lagi faktor-faktor kecantikan yang menambahkan lagi pressure among younger generations to modify, to make extreme modifications on their body, on their face because of this kind of exposure lah, unrealistic expectations. Therefore, hopefully by educating ourselves, what is our ideal body weight, what is the ideal face, what is the ideal skin, and then kita juga perlu ada sort of body acceptance. We accept whatever we have right now and work to improve on our health based on with a good basis, with a good guidance from an expert. Bukannya macam simply jump through all the different types of diets that are circulating amongst ourselves kan. Okay, so after discussion about eating habits tadi, there are several essay questions I'm giving you right now. I'm giving you here pada slide 9 until slide 12. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. So this is an example of for 2 mark question ya. Ada 2 markah kat sini at least. Sorry saya tak letak jumlah markah kat situ. Hopefully it help. If I give you marks, hopefully it helps to guide you on planning your answer. So from what I see here, yes, most of you have the correct starting point, which is the answer is no, kan? Jawapan dia memang no. Okay, statement dekat situ ialah salivary amylase must be responsible for the digestion of starch in the small intestine, which is not true, which is no, because digestion started in even though digestion started in our mouth, amylase requires an environment with almost neutral pH 6 and pH 7. But once the food move to our stomach, the amylase and the digested food, yang bila digested food tu kan daripada mulut kita panggil dia bolus kan. So bolus ni ada amylase at the surface. Yes, when it is in the mouth. But once the bolus enters the stomach area, we know that the stomach contains hydrochloric acid, which is pH 1 or pH 2. So that is the reason number reason number 2 lah. No, because salivary amylase requires pH 6 or pH 7 to work, but once the food enters the stomach, it is exposed to pH 1 or pH 2. So once amylase in the bolus atau in the digested food from the mouth enter the stomach, it is exposed to pH 1 or pH 2. Kita dah belajar dulu, bila enzim terdedah to extreme pH difference, sepatutnya pH 7, tapi sekarang dekat pH 1, the enzyme will become denatured. Istilah tu kita boleh letakkan dalam jawapan kita ya. Once the amylase enters atau exposed to stomach acid, it will become denatured. Tambah sikit pada jawapan kamu tu. Nampak ya? Dalam chapter digestion ni kita banyak recall balik all our knowledge regarding chapter 4 iaitu chemical composition, bukan chapter 4, sorry, chapter 5. And also chapter 4, betul juga. Chapter 4 lah, sebab kita kena recall balik apakah monomer that build up all the complex food molecules such as protein, carbohydrate and lipid kan. So ada 4 point kat situ. Nombor 1, amylase can only, the first point is no. The second point is amylase works in neutral condition atau pH 7, but stomach acid is pH 1 or pH 2, very acidic. Therefore, amylase from mouth amylase atau salivary amylase cannot work in the stomach and will become denatured. So when it becomes denatured, the salivary amylase can no longer digest starch in the stomach. Therefore, once the food exit the stomach and enters the small intestine, ada lagi tak amylase kat situ? Of course lah tak ada kan, sebab dah denatured dalam perut. So we need another batch of amylase which comes from the pancreas. So pancreatic amylase will enter the small intestine in duodenum area to resume the digestion of starch. Okey anak-anak? Okey ya. Okey, untuk jawapan ada beberapa jawapan kata no because salivary amylase digest starch in the mouth. Almost there, tak tepat lagi, kena tambah lagi. Sebab kita kata salivary amylase enters the stomach and exposed to stomach acid. Salivary amylase become denatured in the stomach. Maksud dia apa? Masuk perut, salivary amylase that can no longer function, it is already damaged. So in the small intestine, bukan salivary amylase yang digest starch, tapi pancreatic amylase yang digest starch. Okay. Okay, saya ambil satu sampel jawapan kat sini so that we can resume, then we can proceed to the next question. Yeah. Okay. Sorry untuk mereka yang sedang update, jangan risau, saya akan tukar balik kepada student pace dan you will adjust your answer after this. Okay, let's take a look at the next question. So in the next question, sekejap ya. Next question dia tanya, explain how the enzymatic digestion of food by pancreatic amylase is not compromised by the acid produced in the stomach. Sekarang ni kita dah sebut dalam soalan tadi, jawapan yang sebelum ni kita sebut amylase can no longer work in the stomach. Tapi at the same time, the food that enters the duodenum from the stomach are in acidic condition sebab mereka ni bolus ni ada bukan bolus, dia dah jadi chyme. So because the chyme is includes the acid, stomach acid acid from the stomach area, So macam kenapa amylase di kawasan small intestine still can digest? I agree with you when you say macam ada beberapa idea daripada Nurin, idea daripada Amna, Marsha, ada lagi siapa ni? Satu lagi daripada Syahira Kristina. Good. Their idea is this is because in the duodenum they are bile produced by liver. Bagus. Okay, in the duodenum bile produced by liver enters the small intestine to neutralize stomach acid. Kan bile ni kan sifat dia alkaline. Okay, so in the duodenum bile produced by liver enters the duodenum area to neutralize the stomach acid that subsequently provide a suitable environment for pancreatic amylase to work on atau to digest starch. Okay, bile produced by liver enters the duodenum to neutralize stomach acid. Therefore, pancreatic amylase is in a suitable condition to digest starch effectively. Okay, I give you 1 minute to update. Okay, your idea is correct ya, bagus. Okay, you have the right idea there, bagus. Okay, bile produced in the liver. Okay, bile produced by liver enters the small intestine, number 1. Bile from the liver pun boleh, tak ada masalah. Okay, bile from the liver enters the duodenum, neutralize stomach acid. Therefore, pancreatic amylase is in a suitable condition to digest starch effectively. Okay, saya screenshot juga satu sample answer here. Okay. Jangan risau ya, nanti saya convert kepada student base. You can copy copy your friend's answer daripada sampel jawapan nanti ya. I hope you get the idea lah. Oh sorry. Alright, it's already 1 minute. Saya minta maaf. Saya move on to the next one. Okay, so the next question. So for the next question, okay, untuk word equation, okay, untuk word equation for this part, boleh pilih mana-mana word equation for lipase boleh, for erepsin boleh, for trypsin boleh, for pepsin pun boleh ya. For amylase pun boleh. So mana-mana two word equation that you can find, tapi you must mention what is the enzyme involved. Okay, so saya faham memang susah sikit nak tulis dekat sini kan, tapi kena mention dia punya nak kata apa, dia punya enzyme lah. So for example here, ini idea daripada Okay, ini satu sampel answer daripada Nurin. Okay, so ini cara nak tulis word equation, bukan sentence tau. Word equation is like this, starch plus water digested to become maltose. Lepas tu pada arrow tu kita tulis nama enzim dia iaitu salivary amylase. This is a word equation. Ada satu. Okay, here is another one. Okay, dia ada include lipase and also erepsin. This is a sample several answers. Ini juga idea daripada Ammar. Okey, sekejap ya, saya kongsikan idea daripada Ammar. Okey, ada 3 sampel answer kat sini ya. So, cumanya, kejap ya. Ammar yang erepsin tu kena buat kurungan kat situ ya. Baru saya nampak jelas lah bahawa arrow tu adalah erepsin tu is part of the arrow. Nak minta tolong Ammar tambah kurungan saja. Memang cantik dah cara Ammar tulis tu. Idea yang menarik. Okey. Tadi Nurin tu tinggal nak tambah lagi satu je kan. Okey ya. Kita ambil tengok sampel lain lagi. Okey. Okay, here is another example. Okay ya, saya screenshot. Word equation ni dalam bio kita tak pernah minta buat chemical equation ya. Sebab chemical equation you have to make sure that both left and right of the equation is balanced. Kita kena make sure that the number of moles are balance on left and right. Sebab tu kita tak minta chemical equation because it only adds another layer of difficulty untuk student jawab. Sedangkan bio ni pun konten dia dah banyak. Biasanya bio dia minta word equation macam ni sajalah. So don't fret ya. Nanti kita cakap pasal fotosintesis, ada beberapa chemical equation lagi pun kita memang minta pelajar tulis macam ni sajalah. Kita misalnya untuk fotosintesis pun macam bukan untuk fotosintesis yang kita baru belajar lipid misalnya kan. So untuk lipid ni saya nak highlight juga kat sini, untuk lipid you have to mention the number sorry kejap ya. Oh yes, okay saya terlupa. Okay, ada 3 sampel answer dekat sini. Make sure that you mention the number of molecules untuk lipid. Kejap. Oh sebab lipid ya. Tak payah. Tak apa. This word equation pun okey dah. Tak ada masalah ya. Okay. Ada yang tengah tulis lagi ke? Alright. I give you another 30 seconds. Sekejap ya. I have to check something first. Okay, tak apa. Tak perlu ada number of molecules ya. Sorry. Unless kalau dia memang bagi diagram untuk formation and breakdown of lipid ke atau formation and breakdown of maltose dan sebagainya, macam kita belajar dekat chapter 4. Kalau dia bagi diagram, kita kena bagi tahu specifically lah bilang number of molecules berapa Alright, so okay, sorry. Last question. Okay, last question here. This is a KBAT question. Maka ada satu saja tapi dia punya statement tu ada panjang lah. Ini adalah ciri-ciri soalan KBAT. Dia punya statement panjang untuk memberikan maklumat sebaik mungkin kepada student untuk dia come up with their own idea. Itu KBAT lah. Okay, kita bagi sebanyak mungkin maklumat supaya students boleh buat decisions yang sesuai untuk situasi yang diberikan dalam soalan aplikasi KBAT. So untuk soalan ni, dia tanya apakah adaptation of Heliobacter pylori kan? Kenapa dia boleh survive dalam stomach acid? Okay, ada yang jumpa ya Heliobacter ni secrets enzim apa ya? Bagus Ashraf. Okay. So Ashraf jumpa, Syaira Kristina pun jumpa. That is very good. Okay. So katakanlah Okay, ini beberapa sampel jawapan. Okay, usually ialah kan bila periksa kita mana ada ability untuk apa, ada ability untuk Google macam ni kan. So idea daripada apa, Puteri Dania ni juga adalah cadangan yang baik lah. Okay, so bila Puteri Dania kata the bacteria has the ability to counteract gastric acid. So jawapan tu almost there. Bila ada ability to counteract tu, mungkin kita boleh cerita pasal apa, the bacteria can survive in a suitable pH because in acidic condition because it is the suitable pH misalnya. Tak semestinya jawapan yang mereka bagi ni, yang 4 orang ni bagi betul. Tapi kalau dalam konteks periksa, mungkin kamu tak tahu apa, kita tak nak Google maklumat ni kan. Tetapi antara cadangan-cadangan yang kita boleh fikirkan kat sini, kita kena recall balik pengetahuan kita dalam factors of influencing enzyme activity. For example, kita boleh kata mungkin bakteria tersebut for acidic environment is the optimum pH for the bacteria. Itu nombor 1 lah. Okay, nombor 2 kita boleh kata macam Puteri Dania sebutlah, it has the ability to counteract atau neutralize gastric acid. Itu yang saya cari tu. It has the ability to neutralize stomach acid. Okay, so jawapan as simple as that pun boleh dapat markah. So markah dia 1 saja. So bila markah dia 1 saja, memang kita expect jawapan-jawapan pelajar yang macam dalam silibus tak ada ni, tapi dia boleh fikir tak, dia boleh relate tak dengan factors affecting enzyme activity dan sebagainya. So this is related to that lah. Dan sebab itu markah dia 1 saja. Okay. Alright. Okay, so saya share satu sampel jawapan kat sini. Okay, saya tambah ya dekat Telegram. Acidic pH is optimum for the bacteria or the bacteria can neutralize acidity of the stomach. Okay, of the stomach lah, of the gastric juice. Sorry, gastric juice. Okay, so saya minta maaf anak-anak. I would like to go to our topic for today, which is chapter 10. Which is chapter 10. Saya tukarkan balik kepada student pace so that you can go back to previous slides if you want to update the slides. Sementara saya buka hari ni punya pedek. Sekejap ya. Mana hari ni punya pedek? So untuk soalan kebat tu jangan risau ya, tak semestinya soalan jawapan tu mesti canggih macam bagi tahu pasal the existence of the specific enzyme kan. Tak perlu, because it is not part of our syllabus pun. Tapi I want to see that what are your own ideas kan? What are your own ideas related to what we have learned in previous discussion. Okay. Alright. So saya share this tab. Okay, already done. And then open teacher's dashboard first. Sekejap ya. Salah. Alright. So hari ni kita nak masuk chapter 10. Hopefully we have enough time to cover subtopic 10.1 transport. Dalam chapter 10 ni dia ada 8 subtopik ya. So we are going to cover 10.1 and 10.2 this week. Mari kita tengok satu persatu. So first of all, we will discuss in general what are the types of circulatory system. Sekejap ya, types of circulatory system. So untuk types of circulatory system, kita kena faham bahawa while we are discussing about different ways to transport gases lah, to transport substances lah around our body, as we have discussed in respiratory system, our body consists of layers of cell. Ada banyak sel pada badan kita. Because of that, not all of our cells are exposed to the environment. Dia nak dapatkan materials atau remove materials from in and out of the cell memang tak boleh lah. Kita tengok pada jari kita pun, even the skin organ has multiple layers of cell kan. Jadi this is because we have a small total surface area per volume ratio. Therefore, the distance between the external environment to the cells in our body, especially dekat bahagian dalam-dalam ni, is very far to do exchange of materials atau exchange of nutrients, exchange of waste materials, tak boleh buat sebab jarak terlalu jauh dengan external environment. Therefore, we require circulation system, specifically blood circulatory system, to obtain all the essential substances from our digested food, from our respiratory system, to be transported throughout our body, and all the waste materials from our cells, the byproduct of respiration lah, dan macam-macam jenis detoxification lah kan. So all of this waste material need to be transported out of the cell also using blood circulatory system. So in general, we have two types of blood circulatory system. Dekat sini saya tak minta apa-apa untuk kamu tulis ke apa. I just put there, you can draw anywhere on this slide in case you want to highlight certain parts of the notes ya. So for types of circulatory system, secara umumnya we will discuss about two different types, which are open circulatory system and also closed circulatory system. So untuk open circulatory system, dia open sebab cuba kamu tengok the blood flows, the medium yang the fluid of the circulatory system goes out of the vessel. Okay, for example dalam gambar ni, the medium atau the fluid that is transported throughout of the body is called hemolymph. Kita tak panggil blood ya. Dalam open circulatory system kita tak panggil blood ya, kita panggil hemolymph. So basically the hemolymph moves along the circulatory system. When it enters the body cell area, it will go out of the vessel to bathe atau to surround the body cells. Okay, so dia punya medium, which is the hemolymph, goes out of the vessel. But in our body is called closed circulatory system. Dalam closed circulatory system, the blood stays inside the blood vessels. Dia tak keluar, only the materials goes in and out of the red blood cells. Itu yang kita nampak semasa kita discuss respiratory system kan. Exchange mechanism for gaseous exchange kan. Kita belajar hari tu bila ada difference in partial pressure, oxygen diffuse out of the red blood cells into the body tissue, and carbon dioxide diffuse from body tissue into the red blood cells. Dalam mekanisme tu kita tak cakap pun red blood cell yang keluar. Kita cakap oksigen dengan carbon dioxide yang keluar. This is because our circulatory system is a closed circulatory system di mana medium blood does not get out of the blood vessels. But in open circulatory system, the blood does go, bukan the blood, sorry, the hemolymph goes out of the um, hemolymph vessel lah, goes out of its vessel. Okay, dah ada smiley kat situ, I assume tak ada soalan lah kat sini ya. Okay, tak apa, kita teruskan dulu, kita apply dalam different context. Okay, untuk kenapa kita kena belajar open circulatory, both type of circulatory system, sebab this is also related to what we have discussed in respiratory system. They work hand in hand. Kita dah belajar pasal insect punya tracheal system for gaseous exchange. So circulatory system dia pula adalah open circulatory system. Whereas kita dah discuss pasal fish, amphibian dengan human, kita cakap pasal dekat mana breathing mechanism dia kan. Sekarang kita nak belajar once the breathing occurs, the oxygen enters the blood, what is the system that transport oxygen throughout all of our body, in the fish body and also in the frog's body. So dalam fish, human dan amphibian, kita ada closed circulatory system. Kita akan discuss satu persatu apakah dia punya characteristics of the components inside the closed circulatory system. What are the mechanism involved to transport materials inside the circulatory system, and what are the adaptations, kalau ada, what are the adaptations to transport all of the substances throughout the body. Okay, mari kita tengok. Pertama sekali ialah untuk circulatory system of insect. Okay, in the circulatory system of insects, there are one or more hearts, nampak ya. Certain species, dia punya jantung ada sepanjang circulatory system dia tu ada beberapa sort of macam checkpoint lah. Sampai kat jantung pertama pump pergi ke depan, jantung pertama pump pergi ke depan, jantung pertama pump pergi ke depan, jantung kedua pump pergi ke depan pula, pergi ke belakang pergi ke belakang pergi ke belakang lah. So the pumping action occurs a few times throughout the body. Bukan macam kita, sekali pump terus pergi ke seluruh badan. So can you complete the mechanism there? When the heart contracts, what is the effect? What will hemolymph do? And then when the heart relaxes, hemolymph pergi mana? Ya, tengok mechanism tu. Okay, bila heart contract atau relax, hemolymph akan pergi mana? Okay, I give you 3 minutes Okay, very good. So when the heart contracts, the hemolymph flows out from the heart into the hemocell. See, because when the heart contracts, it increases in pressure, so the pressure pushes the hemolymph out into the hemocell lah. Hemocell tu adalah the spaces between the body tissues, and then when the heart relaxes, pressure inside the heart decreases. So the pressure inside the heart is lower compared to the pressure in the hemocell. Sebab itulah hemolymph masuk ke dalam jantung, masuk ke dalam heart through a tiny openings called ostium. Alright, very good. Sekejap ya, saya screenshot dulu satu sampel answer. Oh, canggihnya dia sampai ada apa tu special font ya untuk letak kat sini. Okey, sekejap ya. Saya share dulu dalam group. Okey. So, itu mengenai open circulatory system di dalam insect. Okey, minta maaf saya nak pergi ke part yang seterusnya. Saya nampak dekat situ Ashraf punya first point tu you are on the right track. So sebenarnya the opposite vice versa lah untuk when the heart muscle relaxes ya. Hopefully Ashraf boleh menerima dapat terima saya move on to the next slide ya. Minta maaf. Okay, sorry ya Ashraf. Alright. So for the next part, okay ya. This is a circulatory system of fish. Okay. Untuk fish ya, kita nampak dekat sini. Ini pada bahagian kiri ni is the heart. Okay ya. Is the heart. So when the heart, when we take a look at the heart, the bottom part is the atrium and the upper part is the ventricle. So when the ventricle contracts, it will push the blood to the gill capillary area. Push the blood masuk ke dalam gills atau masuk ke dalam insang. In the gills, gaseous exchange occurs. That is why there is a change in color from blue to red. So the change in color because there is exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. So now the blood that leaves the gills consists of oxygenated blood. So oxygenated blood keluar daripada gill capillaries, move to the systemic capillaries atau basically capillary yang membekalkan darah to the body tissues lah. So when the blood rich in oxygen arrive at the systemic capillaries, oxygen diffuses into the tissue and carbon dioxide diffuses into the capillary. Kemudian the blood changes from oxygen rich to become deoxygenated blood, move back towards the atrium area to be transported back into the gills. So can you describe the circulatory system of a fish? What is the name of this particular circulatory system and why is the name kenapa nama dia macam tu? Okay, and then we can also explain atau describe what are the components of the circulatory system yang unik pada fish. Okay, so for example, okay, ada satu sampel jawapan dekat sini. Okay, this is an idea from daripada Shakira Alia ya. Okay, Shakira mencadangkan fish has a closed circulatory system. Lepas tu next part dia kata in a single loop kan. So cadangan saya Shakira terus kata single closed circulatory system. Adjust sikit kat situ ya Shakira. Fish have a single closed circulatory system. Okay. And then jadi explanation kedua daripada Shakira tu kata with a heart that pumps the blood around the body in a single loop. So itu adalah explanation lah kenapa nama dia single closed circulatory system, sebab single loop kan, the pumping of the blood occurs in a single loop. Kemudian that is a good description ya, very good. Sekejap. Dia minta 3 markah ya. 2 markah. Oh cukup 2 markah. Tak ada masalah. Bagi nama. Okey, satu lagi saya kongsikan juga idea daripada Humaira. Okey, satu lagi kita boleh juga describe the heart of a fish. So the heart of a fish consists of one atrium and also one ventricle. So untuk describe the circulatory system of a fish, nombor 1 kita bagi nama, okay, single closed circulatory system. Single sebab the blood flows in one direction atau the blood flows in a single loop from the heart to the gills to the systemic capillaries back to the heart. Single loop balik. Basically dalam bahasa biasa ni kita kata darah masuk jantung sekali saja. Okay, sebab tu kita panggil single closed circulatory system. That is point number 2. Point number 3, the heart has 2 chambers, one atrium and one ventricle. Okay. So ada 2 sampel jawapan kat sini. Saya screenshot keduanya untuk rujukan semua. Sekejap ya.
Teacher?
Yeah.
I have a question for like the first part of Shakira's answer. Is that like compulsory? Do we have to explain that it's a single closed circulatory system?
Yes. Sebab naming a system atau naming a substance is part of the description lah, because in the question, kalau kita tengok pada soalan pada soalan and the whole slide ni memang tak ada kan nama spesifik for that for this particular circulatory system. So bila tak ada maklumat tersebut, in our answer we can include the specific name of the system and it will be part of the mark. Okay, kalau pada soalan tu memang langsung tak ada nama, so kita bagilah, kita nyatakan nama tu dalam kita punya jawapan so that our answer will be more precise. Okay. Ya. Okay, noted. Alright, thank you. Thank you for your response. Okay, seterusnya kita pergi ke the next circulatory system. Okay, ada ni kot. I give you another 3 minutes to update Right. So tak semestinya ayat mesti totally the same as these 2 sentences. Dia punya key dia kat situ ialah single closed circulatory system because blood flows in one direction atau in a single loop and the heart has one atrium and one ventricle. Cukup dah. Okay. Mana-mana 2 daripada 3 statement tu lah. So as I mentioned before, if we can see from the diagram given atau from the question, bila dia minta kita describe sesuatu atau explain sesuatu daripada diagram, daripada soalan, langsung tak ada nama tak ada nama benda yang diminta untuk describe tu. So the name of that particular system or substance or structure is part of our answer. Okay, saya terus selitkan jugalah teknik-teknik menjawab kat sini kan. Okay, sebab kita dah belajar chapter asas dah belajar, so sepatutnya cara kita explain tu kena lebih precise lah. Okay, kejap ya. Alright, okay, saya tukar kepada student pace. Untuk mereka yang dah siap, you can go to slide 9 to describe the next circulatory system. Siapa yang dah? Saya tengok kat sini ramai yang dah selain daripada Humaira dan Syakira, Wan Nurin pun dah, Nur Amna Najihah pun dah, Marsha pun dah, ramai yang dah ni. Boleh pergi ke slide 9. Okay, sementara tu kawan-kawan yang tengah update boleh teruskan update slide 8 ya. You can move on to describe the circulatory system in frog. Okay. Dahiyah pun dah ni boleh pergi ke sebelah ya. Alina pun dah ke sebelah ni. Amir pun dah siap, bagus. Amir, Ashraf dah pergi ke slide sebelah, bagus. Boleh pergi ke slide sebelah ya. Alright, kita dalam ni ada 32 orang. Sekejap ya. Okay ya. Saya pergi ke next slide dulu. Okay, sekarang ni kita nak tengok katak pula. So saya explain dulu pasal katak, lepas tu nanti baru kita pergi ke describe circulatory system ya. So as you can see here, as we have discussed in previous chapter juga, frog uses two different organs to conduct gaseous exchange. Ada a part of it is gaseous exchange through the skin, and the other part is gaseous exchange through the lungs. Jadi, jadi untuk frog, kejap ya, saya tengok semua orang dah berpindah ke sini, so saya bawa semua ke sini lah. Untuk frog, the blood that comes from the systemic capillaries first enters the heart, masuk ke dalam right atrium, and then followed by and then move on to the ventricle. So hanya ada satu ventricle saja. Atrium kita akan sebut right and left atrium untuk katak, tetapi untuk ventricle kita hanya sebut daripada right atrium masuk ke dalam ventricle. When the ventricle contracts, it will pump blood to the pulmocutaneous circulation. Kenapa pulmocutaneous? Pulmo refers to lung. Kalau pulmonary, pulmo something, pulmonary vein, pulmonary artery, pulmo tu refers to the lung. And then cutaneous refers to the skin. Okay, cutaneous refers to the skin. So once the ventricle contract, the deoxygenated blood will be transported to the pulmocutaneous circulation to conduct gaseous exchange, to exchange respiratory gases at two different organs. Number one is at the skin, the number two is at the lungs. Kan kita dah belajar before this, masa dia dalam keadaan rehat, katak akan guna skin for gaseous exchange. When it is in a more active condition, it will use lungs. So once gaseous exchange has been completed, the oxygenated blood will enter the left atrium, followed by, subsequently, it will enter the ventricle. Dekat sini berlaku masalah. Di kawasan ventricle tu kita nampak blood has turned into purple because there is a mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So this mixed blood, when the ventricle pump, this mixed blood will be transported to the systemic circulation where gases exchange occur between the blood and the body tissues. So macam biasalah, bila dah habis gases exchange, the deoxygenated blood will return back to the heart via the right atria, masuk ke dalam right atria. So untuk circulatory system of a frog, okay, kalau kita tengok dekat sini from the whole slide, the name of the circulatory system tak ada kan. So kita boleh sebutlah, okay, yang cantiknya kita tulis double close circulatory system. Itu yang paling cantik. Tapi if you mention double circulatory system pun bagus. Dah cukup dah. Cukup dah ya. Tapi yang complete dia ialah double close circulatory system. Kenapa double? As we can see from the diagram, the blood enters twice. Enters the heart twice. Okay. Darah masuk ke dalam jantung 2 kali. Sebab tu kita panggil double circulatory system. Okay, kemudian that is point number 1. Point number 2, we can also describe the direction of blood flow. Sekejap ya, saya nak tengok dari atas dengan bawah siapa yang sebut direction of blood flow ni. Sekejap ya. Okay. Ni satu sampel daripada Nik Natasha ya. Okay. Nik Natasha bagi tahu, okay, this is a double closed circulatory system, number 1. Reason number 2, because the direction of blood flow is in the pulmonocutaneous circulation and also systemic circulation. Okay, itu dia punya following follow up for the name double circulatory system. Okay, itu point number 2. Point number 3, okay, bila Nik Natasha sebut pasal the heart of a frog has 3 chambers, bagi tahu kat situ 2 atria and 1 ventricle. Very good. Apakah kesan dia bila the heart of a frog only has 3 chambers? Dekat situ kalau Natasha bagi tahu explanation what is the problem of having only 3 chambers, description Natasha bagi ni dah cukup dah 4 markah. Sikit lagi. Okay, bagi tahu apa masalah dia bila ada 3 chambers only. Okay. Kan walaupun dia adalah double closed circulatory system, apa masalah dia bila dia ada 3 chamber saja? Tak apa, don't worry Natasha, sikit lagi. One more statement dah cukup dapat full mark ya. Okay, saya share kat sini satu sampel jawapan. Okay, so statement number 1, frog have a double closed circulatory system. Point 1. Point 2, because the blood flows in 2 directions, which are pulmonocutaneous circulation and systemic circulatory system. Okay, itu point number 2. Point number 3, the heart of the amphibian consists of 3 chambers, which are 2 atria and 1 ventricle, where both atria pumps blood into a single ventricle. Boleh. Okay, this is also a good description as well. Thank you Syaira Kristina. Okay, this is a good example. Okay. Saya mencari ada satu term juga yang berkaitan dengan bila ada 2 atrium 1 ventricle ni, dia ada satu term yang kita boleh cakap pasal frog circulatory system ni. Saya mencari orang yang menyatakan term tersebut. Kejap ya. Saya cari orang yang ada ke tak. Panjangnya jawapan Iman. Menarik. Sekejap ya. Okay. Here is another example. Thank you Amir. Amir Aiman. Okay. So, ayat terakhir ayat terakhir Aiman ni yang saya tertarik ya. Betul lah kan Aiman. Okay. Iaitu this will cause this deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood mix. Okay, very good. This is a good answer. So untuk completekan lagi jawapan Amir ni, therefore a frog circulatory system is incomplete. Okay, tambah sikit Amir. Therefore the frog's circulatory system is incomplete. Sebab ada mixing tu kita kira incomplete lah. Thank you Amir. Okay, terima kasih juga Syahira Kristina for sharing your ideas. Sekejap ya. Okay, saya screenshot lagi sekali, lepas tu saya share. Okay. Here is another sample answer. Alright, okay. Sekarang ni, saya tukar balik slide ni kepada student pace. Untuk mereka yang dah siap, you can move to slide number 11. Lengkapkan slide number 11 pula. Okay. Untuk mereka yang dah siap, pergi ke slide number 11. Ada orang yang dekat slide number 9 tu pindah ya. Kalau dah siap dekat slide 9, boleh pergi ke slide 11. Okay. Slide 11 tu untuk describe human circulatory system pula. Okay. Untuk describe human circulatory system pula. So as you can see here, saya juga nak tunjukkan dekat sini bahawa even though the question has stated require 4 marks, dalam bio biasanya kalau soalan tu 4 markah, the points for you to include the relevant points can be more than, memang akan more than 4 lah. Usually ada 6 to 8 points untuk soalan yang 4 markah. Okay. So don't worry ya. Sebab itu saya share, setiap kali saya share, kadang-kadang saya share tu lebih daripada 2 sampel answer. Sebab dalam bio memang kalau soalan tu 4 markah, dia punya relevant points tu ada lebih daripada 4. Okay, saya nak tengok kat sini. Okay, sikit lagi ya. Okay, sementara tu saya pergi ke slide yang seterusnya sebab ada yang tengah update dekat slide apa tadi? Slide 9. Allahu Akbar. Okay. So, sambil-sambil kamu lengkapkan slide 9 tu, okay, I would like to ask for your attention for slide 10. Okay, dah habis. Okay, saya tengok most of you dah habis. Sorry ya, saya bawa semua orang pergi ke slide 10 ya. Kejap ya. Okay, semua orang masuk slide 10 balik. Minta maaf ganggu kamu punya flow of answering the question untuk slide 11. So, untuk circulatory system of amphibians, ini yang saya sebut tadi lah. Okay, so deoxygenated blood enters the right atrium. Lepas tu and then oxygenated blood pula from the lungs and skin transported to the left atrium. Okay, kemudian blood from both atrium enters the same ventricle. So itu yang Amir sebut tadi, because it enters the same ventricles, berlaku mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So the blood that is transported from the heart to all parts of the body in the systemic capillaries less efficient in transporting oxygen. Sebabnya yang keluar daripada jantung tu masih lagi deoxygenated blood keluar daripada jantung. Jadi less efficient lah, sepatutnya keluar tu sepatutnya fully oxygenated kan. Tapi ini tidak berlaku lah because of the presence of only one ventricle. Okay, ini yang ramai yang dah start buat dekat sini, describing the circulatory system of human. So kalau kita tengok dekat sini, okay, I give you some of the sample answer here. Okay, kejap ya. Okay, here is a few sample answer. This one. Okay. Nombor satu, kita bagi tahu nama dulu kan. Kamu dah nampak dah pattern dia kat situ. Nombor satu, nama dia ialah complete double closed circulatory system. Okay, yang basic dia kamu jawab double circulatory system. Itu yang basic. Okay, itu nama basic untuk human circulatory system. Tapi untuk untuk lebih tepat lagi, kita sebutlah double closed circulatory system. Lagi tepat kita kata double closed circulatory system. Kejap ada, ya Dahia nak tanya apa? Ada ramai ke tanya? Dahia je kan nak tanya? Ya Dahia nak tanya apa?
Sorry, tertekan.
Oh tertekan, okay. Alright, so itu nombor satu. Nombor dua, sama ada kita cakap, kita bagi reason kenapa kita katakan ini adalah double closed circulatory system. Sebab sebab nombor satu, sebab blood flows into the heart twice, ataupun macam disebut oleh Iman kat sini, nama dia double sebab blood flows into two separate circulatory cycle, which are pulmonary circulation and also systemic circulation, kan? Sebab tu nama dia double closed circulation. Okay, kenapa kita panggil dia sebagai complete? Sebab the human heart consists of two atria and two ventricles that are separated completely. Therefore, there is no mixing of the blood inside the heart. Sebab itu kita panggil dia complete. Sebab the ventricle part especially in our heart is completely separated by a wall called septum. So tak ada mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sekejap. 4. Alright, cukup. Boleh dapat full marks lah dekat situ. Ini jawapan daripada Sharifah Jasenia. Saya nak tengok juga Okay, ini adalah sampel jawapan daripada Hamim. Okay, juga boleh dapat 4 markah ya, tak ada masalah. So humans have a double closed circulatory system because in one cycle of circulation, the blood flows into the heart twice. Good, dah 2 poin kat situ. Nombor 3, humans oxygenated and deoxygenated blood do not mix because kalau untuk saya boleh tambah dekat situ pasal structure of human heart lah. Humans oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood do not mix because the human heart has 2 atria and 2 ventricles that are separated completely. Okay, tapi jawapan Hamim ni dah memang cukup 4 markah, tak ada masalah ya. Cuma itu adalah idea saya kalau nak explain, nak tambah lagi explanation kenapa do not mix tu, sebab jantung manusia consists of 2 atria and 2 ventricles that are completely separated. Therefore, human oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood do not mix. Okay, complete double. Alright, very good. Okay, both of these answers boleh dapat full mark 4. Tak ada masalah. Okay. Ada 2 sampel answer here. Banyak lagi sampel answer yang lengkap dekat bawah-bawah ni ya. Okay. Saya cuba kongsi variety of answers. Okay. Sekejap ya, saya show responses. Semua orang punya responses. Okay, good. Jawapan yang saya tengah baca ni pun memang boleh dapat dah full mark. Okay, Alina pun dapat ni. Alina dapat, Amna dapat, Zafirah pun very good. Ashraf almost there, sikit lagi dia nak rumuskan. Okay, Iman pun very good, Syahira very good. Okay, Wan Nurin almost there. I think satu markah tu dah dapat dah kat situ. Okay, I give you another 1 minute and then kita pergi ke explanation regarding human circulatory system 14, 15, sikit lagi. Okay, sebentar tu saya browse through dulu. Alright. Alright. This is a good answer. Description ni bagus. This one, okay, this one almost there. Nombor 1 point, 2 points. Okay, 2 points dah ada kat situ, almost there. 2 marks lagi. Yes, this one good. Alright. 1, 2. This one got 2 marks only. Nanti kena ni lah. Nanti saya bagi private response ya. This one, mana ya? Oh, cukup. Okay, dia dah update. Alright, kita pergi ke slide seterusnya dulu. So, as you have mentioned in your answers, the circulatory system of human consists of 2 different circulation. The first one is pulmonary circulation between the heart and the lungs. So, deoxygenated blood is pumped by the heart to be transported via the pulmonary artery to the lungs, and deoxygenated blood becomes oxygenated blood and it will return to the left atrium and flows into the left ventricles. So when the left ventricle contract, blood is pumped to the aorta, to all parts of the body, and then when the body has conduct gases exchange, the oxygenated blood from the aorta tadi sudah bertukar menjadi deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood returns to the heart via vena cava. Okay, so we have take a look at all the open and closed circulatory systems that is related to our current syllabus. So these are a few similarities and differences. Kejap, saya tukar kepada draw function in case kamu nak conteng-conteng dekat sini ya. In case kamu nak buat notes, jot down notes kat sini ya. So the similarities between all circulatory system is since we are multicellular organisms, kesemua multicellular organism perlukan sistem, circulatory system, respiratory system dan sebagainya kan. And then as we can see here, semua circulatory system mesti ada jantung dan mesti ada vessel. Okay, dia mesti ada jantung dan ada salur. Okay, kemudian dia punya function juga sama, transport nutrient and also waste. Transport respiratory gases tak betul ya, sebab transport respiratory gases hanya betul, is only true for closed circulatory system. Open circulatory system does not transport respiratory gases ya. Kena take note of that. And then all of the heart, regardless of types of circulatory system has valve to ensure the blood flows atau the medium flows, bukan blood sebenarnya kan, the medium flows in one direction. Kenapa the medium flows in one direction? Kenapa saya sebut medium? Sebab dalam open circulatory system, we do not call the medium as blood. We call it as hemolymph. Okay. So untuk differences, okay, we can compare in terms of types of circulatory system. Kita boleh juga compare dari segi complete atau incomplete. Kita juga boleh compare dari segi number of circulation, as you can see here, number of heart cavities, berapa atrium, berapa ventricle, atau ada banyak atau bilangan dia banyak. Macam inside bilangan dia ada banyak, jantung dia ada banyak. And then last kali kita boleh compare dari segi incomplete dengan complete in terms of the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Untuk fish, walaupun dia hanya ada satu atrium, satu ventricle, but since the blood enters the heart once, tak ada mixing lah. Itu cara fish make sure that there is a complete separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Sebab darah tu hanya masuk sekali saja dalam jantung, jadi yang masuk tu hanya one type, deoxygenated blood saja. Oxygenated blood tak lalu balik jantung, so there is no mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Okay, so selalunya untuk differences ni, comparison ni, student yang come up sendiri, tapi sekarang ni disebabkan sukatan kita expect you to apply differences atau comparison ni at a higher level, sebab itulah dia bagi the list of differences dekat sini ya. Okay, mari kita cuba satu soalan comparison kat sini. Mari kita cuba. Okay ya. Saya pergi ke slide seterusnya. Okay, the diagram shows two different types of circulatory system. What are the differences between these two circulatory system? Apakah perbezaan antara kedua-dua ni? Okay, as I mentioned before, if the question or the diagram does not have name, we should give a name to the to the components, the structure or the process shown by the question or shown by the diagram. Okay. Okay, you are off to a good start here. Several of you name the circulatory system ya, very good. Okay, ada dua cara nak name ni, bukan dua cara nak name ni, sorry. Ada dua starting point yang berbeza yang saya nampak kat sini yang sangat interesting. Okay, saya share dekat sini dua sampel jawapannya. Okay, satu. Okay ya. So dua sampel jawapan ni saya suka starting point kedua-dua jawapan ini. Okay, jawapan yang first, dia kata first picture single closed circulatory system, while the other is double closed circulatory system. Kemudian satu lagi jawapan ni, dia punya starting point dia bagi tahu yang on the left side is for fish and on the right side is for humans. Daripada starting point dua orang ni, kita dah dapat two differences already. Very good. Okay, dah ada dua differences. Hanya bagi tahu nama dia apa dan kita jumpa circulatory system tu in which type of animal atau which type of organism kan. Okay, here is another sample. Okay, tadi tu jawapan daripada Marsha dan juga Putri Dania. Okay, saya share juga jawapan daripada Alina ni. Saya suka part yang dia compare number of chambers between the heart. Very good. So the heart on the figure on the left side contains only 2 chambers, whereas the heart on the right contains 4 chambers. Alhamdulillah, from these 3 sample answers, kita dah dapat 3 differences kan? Ada 3 differences kat situ. Okay, so nombor 1, fish, satu lagi, left is fish, the right is human. Left is single closed circulatory system, the right is double closed circulatory system. And then number 3, number of chambers lah. Kalau fish only have 2 chambers, whereas in humans have 4 chambers. Okay, itu perbezaan yang ketiga. Perbezaan yang keempat, kita huraikan lagi pasal chambers tu. Kita kata in fish there is only 1 atrium and 1 ventricle. In humans there are 2 atria and 2 ventricles. So kita dah dapat 4 differences dekat situ Fish versus human, single versus double, single closed circulatory system versus double closed circulatory system, 2 chambers versus 4 chambers, 1 atrium, 1 ventricle versus 2 atrium and 2 ventricles. So Alhamdulillah, from your submissions here, we can see at least 3 differences lah. Allahu Akbar. 3 different perspective showing 3 differences. Astaghfirullahalazim. Banyak tersasul hari ni sebab hari pagi ni saya start dengan kopi kot. Selalu saya start dengan air coklat, dia lebih bertenang Maybe bila high caffeine ni dia jadi terlalu cepat pula pemikiran dia sampai mulut pun tersasul nak sebut. Saya Okey, dan satu lagi yang saya ingin komen mengenai cara kamu jawab ni, saya sangat suka cara kamu semua jawab ni. Ayat kamu memang cantik okey. Ayat kamu memang cantik. You are using whereas, you are using meanwhile pun boleh, okey, while pun boleh. So I can see here that the way you write your comparisons are very good. Okay, dalam satu ayat tu ada dua-dua. Pasal fish pun ada, pasal humans pun ada. That is very true. That is a correct way to write comparison. So saya akan screenshot semua sampel jawapan ni. Ada sampel jawapan daripada Amna, daripada Marsha, daripada Syairah Kristina, daripada Ashraf dan juga daripada Hamim dan juga daripada Amir. Memang semua jawapan yang saya nampak kat sini, most of you dah dapat full mark already Amirul sikit lagi, itu baru 1. Amirul lagi 2 lagi, almost there. Amirul bagus. Dahiyah pun dah lengkap, Farah pun almost there. Apatah lagi Putri Dania dengan Amar kan, both of you have complete full marks already from your submission. Very good. Okey, mari kita cuba soalan last sekali. Rasanya sempat lagi ni nak tackle soalan last sekali. Okey, alang kepalang kan. Alang kepalang kamu punya apa analytical thinking tu sangat bagus. Okay, this is a KBAT question. A flatworm is a multicellular organism. However, the flatworm does not require a specialized transportation. Cuba tengok the flat macam tu kan. So, apa kaitan dia keadaan flat dia tu yang menyebabkan dia tak perlu pun specialized transportation? Mungkin kita boleh sebut gunakan pengetahuan mengenai the ratio. Dari segi ratio macam mana? Okay, bila kita sebut pasal keperluan untuk ada sistem ke tak ada sistem ni, kita sentiasa gunakan point the ratio, total surface area to volume ratio kan untuk explain keperluan. Saya bila saya Google gambar flatworm ni, inilah gambar yang paling kurang geli daripada semua gambar flatworm yang saya tengok tu. Tak boleh lah dia jadi geli-geleman ke macam mana entah. Aduh. Tapi okey lah. Tak ada pula daripada respon kat sini yang kata macam geli ke apa ya. Which is good. Daya ketahanan tinggi ya 4 orang ni bagus. Macam itulah ini gambar flatworm yang paling cantik lah. Ada yang macam bertumpuk-tumpuk. I cannot. Sebab kebetulan sebelum tu saya tengok ada orang share different types of phobia. Satu tu kan trophophobia yang kulit yang nampak berlubang-lubang tu kan. Itulah. Lepas tu bila tengok gambar flatworm pula berbintik-bintik, lagilah pening. Trypophobia, yes. So mungkin itu faktor dia lah. Sebab flatworm ni banyak juga yang design dia berbintik-bintik. So dia jadi teringat trypophobia tu jadi macam I cannot. Okay. Cuba, yes. Okay, flatworm tu hidup dalam coral reef. Kita jumpa flatworm dekat coral reef. Okay. Flatworm yang dalam gambar ni lah. Okay. Okay. Ada 2 jawapan kat sini yang saya rasa bagus untuk saya kongsikan. Okay, both are from Syahira dan juga Alina. Betul tu, tak perlu letak tanda soal, memang betul. Okay, so first point is we are talking about total surface area to volume ratio lah. Sebabnya bila kita discuss pasal unicellular organism tadi kan, kita kata unicellular organism tak ada circulatory system because the total surface area per volume ratio is very large. So dia dalam soalan ni dia kata flatworm pun tak ada circulatory system. Most probably mestilah dia sifat dia sama macam unicellular organism where total surface area to volume ratio is very large. So number 2 macam yang dinyatakan dekat sini, dinyatakan oleh Syahira ni, they can obtain sufficient oxygen and nutrient by diffusion, therefore they do not require specialized transport system. Ataupun macam Alina jawab, the distance between the flatworm body cells and external environment is close, therefore substance can diffuse easily. Very good. Okay, both of these answers are very good. So nampak ya, bila kita cakap soalan KBAT, tak adalah jawapan tu perlu sampai canggih-canggih yang sampai macam I have to Google this then I can answer. Tak semestinya ya. It also requires you to relate with whatever content that we have learned. Cuma mungkin explanation tu adalah untuk unicellular organism misalnya. Dan situasi ni explanation tu sebenarnya untuk unicellular organism. Tapi situasi ni sesuai juga untuk describe the exchange of materials in flatworm juga kan. Okay, so anak-anak saya nak simpulkan jugalah kat sini apa yang kita dah buat ya. Saya minta maaf sebab dah pukul 10 Okay. Mana reflection? Okay. Oh sorry untuk mereka yang tengah tulis jangan risau ya, saya akan tukar ini kepada student pace, nanti kamu boleh update ya. So basically anak-anak, hari ini kita dah bincang mengenai apa yang kita dah buat last week, iaitu eating habits, and then satu lagi kita dah discuss mengenai two different types of circulatory system, which are open and closed circulatory system. Untuk open circulatory system hanya pada insect, whereas in closed circulatory system kita discuss pasal fish, amphibian and also humans. Walaupun fish, amphibians and humans are all closed circulatory system, tapi untuk fish dia single sebab darah masuk dalam jantung sekali. Dalam amphibian dengan humans, it is known as double closed circulatory system because the blood enters the heart twice. But in the amphibian circulatory system, there is a mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So that is why amphibian circulatory system is known as an incomplete double circulatory system. Alright. Oh okay. Soalan explain tu ni sikit ya. Ada nama pelik-pelik susah nak eja. Alright. Oh betul juga tu. Nama pelik-pelik ya. Okay, but question tu, last question tu ni sikit lah. Okay. Last question. Okay. So, sorry for taking 2 minutes of your time. In the income messages section, I also given there the link for today's attendance. Jangan lupa update attendance hari ni. Kita ada 32 orang hari ni ya. So make sure that all 32 of you update your attendance. So that is all for today. If you have any questions regarding today's lesson, please put in what was hard so that I will address your question on Friday. On Friday kita akan buat session Google Meet lah. So that is all for today. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Cikgu.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.